It's lights out at the pit wall, your stop for Fantasy Formula One. I am your host, Dom, and joining me tonight is my dad, David, and our good friend, Paola. Before we get into it, I'd like to give a thank you to everyone who's decided to join the pit crew. We are just under 400 subs as of tonight. Our last video got over 1,000 views and it blew our minds. We had a pretty crazy race. If we go over to the results tab, Paola, is there anything you see here that caught your interest?
I'm really happy with my decision to switch over from Team Mercedes to Team Red Bull this week. I traded out Leclerc, which was absolutely the right choice there. I put in Perez and Verstappen, whom got me a lot of points.
Well, I think she kind of sounded sad when she said she gave up Leclerc. That's her favorite driver. I mean, it's kind of sad.
Did it hurt, Paola? You feel your soul crush a little?
I did it reluctantly, but it absolutely had to be done this week, and definitely feeling that loss, though.
I just switched out Leclerc myself after the race. The value of my team was already taking a hit by the time I traded him, and it's only been a day.
I was surprised that Sainz went down so many positions. I was pretty happy with Tsunoda starting the pit row and picking up 10 spots. That was pretty impressive.
Let's go ahead and move over to the dynamic pricing report. We have had ups and downs for some drivers throughout the season, but there are some big price changes after this week.
I was also surprised a little bit by Alpine going up. It wasn't a particularly great race by Ocon. I'm assuming it's Alonso carrying that sentiment upwards.
Alonso's back's got to be sore from how much he carried this last race, huh?
It was great to see Aston Martin both finishing with points. Stroll picked up 7 places. I think he felt good about that considering what happened at Baku. And it looks like they're just playing a really smart and different tire game than the rest of the teams. They went for the overcut, started out on hards. I'm excited to see how they manage their tires going forward.
We had a decent finish for Russell, getting 12th place, the highest position that a Williams has had all season. Definitely something to celebrate. This is only the 10th time in all of Formula One's history we had no DNFs for the entire race. It's time to get into the actual race itself. This was a nail-biter from start to finish. They take off from the blocks. Verstappen's looking really good, and then all of a sudden he's not on the track anymore. Hamilton is already in front of him, only on turn 2. Race is already over. So I sent out a text and I said, well, I guess I'm going to bed now.
I was kind of in shock, but he really recovered quite well. And something that surprised me was the fact that Hamilton didn't take off like he's had in the past. This year's Red Bull seems to be matching the Mercedes. He was able to stay close enough so that he could do a good undercut and take the lead. That was wonderful.
The Mercedes sounded surprised when Verstappen was able to pass them in the pits. Mercedes had to make a choice. They keep Hamilton out and hope that he is able to stay ahead, or they go in for the second pit stop, but they will be behind Verstappen anyway, and then see if Hamilton could make up some ground with fresher tires. They went with the first option. I know Hamilton ended up getting passed, but it was very impressive to me. The analytics said at lap 40, it said Verstappen was going to catch up with Hamilton by lap 47. Only at the very end of the race that Verstappen was able to catch Hamilton and pass him, and that's really impressive. It shows that Hamilton was able to do more with less.
Bottas got past at lap 44, and he was not impressed. He let them have it. I told you we should have a 2-stop strategy. And
Paola, you want to give us your best Bottas reenactment?
I don't think I do, but I was... I couldn't stop thinking about whether they didn't put him in that 2-stop pit strategy because they didn't want to risk a pit stop failure for Bottas again, or if they didn't trust Bottas to pull through on it. It's very unclear, but it seemed like it was the wrong choice just all around. They could have put him on soft right at the end because there was a 40+ second gap to Norris. Definitely a mistake. Not at all a risky decision to have had him pit at the end. I think we're all left wondering why they didn't do it.
They had so much time between Bottas and 5th place. It's more than just Bottas getting an extra point. It's that if he had gotten that fastest lap, he would have taken a point away from Verstappen. I'm not really sure what happened or why they chose to just have him ride out the rest of the race, passed up by Perez, and he was mad.
It makes complete sense to me that he would be infuriated. On the other hand, it was highly entertaining.
There was quite a few blankouts they needed from Bottas when he was talking on the radio. By not pitting him a second time, he lost out on so much. He lost points because he dropped down a place. He lost the potential for the fastest lap. That doesn't seem like that should have been too difficult for Bottas to do. A couple last interesting notes about this race. This is the first time in the hybrid era that Red Bull has won 3 consecutive races in a row. This is the first time that Hamilton has failed to win one race in any span of 3 races in a row since 2019. And finally, this is the first time that Perez and Verstappen have both been on the podium at the same time.
If this was the race that you put Red Bull on your lineup, it 100% paid off.
This would have been a great time to have all Red Bull.
Hey, with Verstappen on my team and him getting a hat trick, I was excited.
Did you turbo him?
I sure did.
Oh man, that was some good points for you. Moving on to our driver standings.
I think Norris deserves a huge shout out. He has scored points every single race this season.
Gasly has been consistent in these last couple of races.
He's been in the points 6 out of 7 races this season. That's incredible.
Now let's move on to the constructor standings. McLaren has once again retaken 3rd spot. Ricciardo and Norris had great race. Maybe we will have as interesting of a battle between McLaren and Ferrari as we do for Red Bull and Mercedes. It's time for a experimental section. Dad had an idea. We're calling it It's in the Numbers. He's going to give you some numbers. It's up to you guys to see if you can't figure out what those numbers mean. So Dad, go ahead and give us a little bit of an explanation.
The puzzle will see how well you're paying attention to the race weekend. And this week I'm looking for a driver. The numbers are 10, 25, and 5. The hint is these are fantasy related. So hopefully you guys will be able to tell me which driver that was during this last race.
So if you have an idea of who that could possibly be and you are bold enough to post in the comments, then go ahead and do so. Heroes and zeros. Paola, I'll let you go first. Who was your hero?
Definitely McLaren. Norris jumping from 14th to 5th, the best race that Ricciardo has had with McLaren. They went up on the constructor standings. It was just a great week for them.
My hero is a Red Bull team. I liked their strategy. I liked how they went from the beginning to end of the race. Everything seemed to go right for them, and I'm happy about that.
My hero for the week, I'm going to go with Russell. 12th place is the highest Williams have been all season. None of those places were because of a retirement. Russell was able to get up there. That's off to you.
0 for the week is Ocon. There was so much promise at the beginning of the weekend. He was top 6 during practice. He had kind of the hype around signing his 3-year contract, but then that pace was completely absent during qualifying, and then during the race, he lost a couple of spots and ended up 14th. Really disappointing race. I put him on one of my teams for fantasy and ended up with 0 points.
Dad, who was your 0?
It's Leclerc. When he finished in the top 5 in practice 2, I thought maybe I should switch him out for Perez, and I'm glad I didn't.
Leclerc seems like one of those drivers that you should really pay attention to what he says. He mentioned that this was probably going to be back to reality for Ferrari, and he's been talking about how much of a struggle they were probably going to have in this kind of track with the long runs. That was one of the reasons that I got him out reluctantly.
It's a good thing that you did that. I unfortunately did not have the foresight to make that change, and I got a whopping -4 points with him after my turbo. My 0, the Bottas pit strat situation. There seemed like no downside to having him come in and at least try to get the fastest lap. It's not Bottas. He drove as well as he could have, but just that entire confusion. All right, it's time to move on to the results of our one race challenge. We had a lot of high point finishes this week, and 2 of our own members get on the podium. Jean-Marc tied for 1st, and Paola, you were able to get on the podium as well. How are you feeling about that?
I finally got the courage to use the wild card. I day traded on Friday. with Ocon and Vettel to get an extra 0.2 and be able to afford both Perez and Gasly, and it paid off.
How do you feel about being the first representative from Chile on our podium?
Super excited. I haven't seen a lot of Chileans playing F1. If you're out there, let me know. Leave a comment. That'd be exciting.
I felt pretty good about my team. What is really neat is the fact that our Pitwall group actually scored the highest average in France.
Highest position goes to the person with the most points. In the event of a tie, we give priority to the person with the lower team value. It means that they were able to do more with less. A shout out to DG1. You tied with a whole lot of people. You did not make it on the podium because of those criteria, but we're going to look at it from the other end. You had the highest value team from everyone that tied. We congratulate that you've been doing really well on your trading. So congratulations for getting our Fat Stacks Award, which is given to the person with the highest value team if they didn't make it on the podium. We had a few teams whose final points were higher than the ORC Elite. Every single person that tied for first and second had more than our ORC Elite. And we're going to go ahead and transition on over to that. This is our ORC Elite, our two criteria. First, the team needs to be $100 million or less. Second, there can be no points from mega drivers. We have a program. We put all the drivers together, and it will calculate what was the highest theoretical score you could get from a team under 100 million. Final score was 243 points. Under 100 million does not necessarily mean that you cannot score high. But we are also seeing that there are some advantages of being over 100 million. One last quick shout out. My brother was pretty hype. Both of his teams were both able to defeat ORC Elite this week. He wasn't here to say it himself, so I will be the mouthpiece for that. The next race is taking place in Austria. We will leave a link to our one race challenge in this video if you are interested in joining. League code will also be down there as well. If we get 10 people to join, we will be able to make a custom banner for the race. And my brother loves doing that. This is the part where our video would usually end anytime there was more than 1 week between races, but we are having back-to-backs. So we're going to actually combine everything right into this one video. So now I will briefly talk about the changes that I've made to my team. This will be the Pitwall Picks for this week, I suppose. I'm not sure you'd want to model your team after my team. There are 1,000 other better teams, but I'll talk about it. The big changes for me this week is that I finally dropped Leclerc, picked up Vettel instead. The decrease in value from Leclerc to Vettel allowed me to move up from Mazepin to Giovinazzi. A little bit of a shakeup. I have been on the back end of almost every race we've had this season. The peak I've had was 9th. I've been almost consistently at the bottom. As far as Paola and Dad are concerned, they have the same teams. They're riding with them. Hopefully for you guys, they will be successful.
Thank you.
I might consider making the wild move of taking Verstappen off, putting on Hamilton, and then coming down from Red Bull to McLaren.
Living on the wild side, huh?
One consideration, if Mick Schumacher does well in practices, I might switch him out for Russell, because this last race, when Mick Schumacher qualified well, he lost positions in the race. So he doesn't have the race pace. If he does his usual in the practices, then I'll probably keep him on the team unless Russell does really well.
And now it's time for League DRD. Dad, congratulations. You decided to turbo Bottas. With that combination of him and Stroll, we're able to absolutely take away the King's race. It wasn't even a close contest.
Bottas didn't let me down this week. I was happy about that.
You get 1 point for the King's race. I did not get 2 points. That was a terrible combination. My brother was able to score the most points in the court race, so he also will have scored 1 point. Gasly was such a monster that he was able to carry my brother's team without any contribution from Oak. We are going to do a soft reset of our League DRD. We are having Paola create her own team, see how she does. The results of our first stint, my brother came in first with 4 points. Dad was able to pull away with 3 points for second. And then I, with my one-hit wonder, came in last, 2 points. He's not here, so we can't hear him relish in his victory. But Dad, how you feel about second?
Oh, I feel pretty good about second.
Yeah, that about sums it up. Now that Paola's joined us, we're going to treat this as if this was the first week over again. For those of you who are still sticking around, thanks a lot for your interest. Quick recap of the rules. Each of us are going to have 4 drivers. We arrange the drivers based on their finishing order of last race. As you pick drivers, if your driver finished higher in the race, your next pick will have less options. And if you picked lower, your next pick will have more options. There is a cap, a ceiling and a floor to how many points a driver can have. If a driver scores more than 30, it caps out at 30, and no driver can get less than 0 points. Once each of us have our 4 drivers, we will split 2 and 2. 2 in the King's race, 2 in the Court's race. They are both worth 1 point unless you are the reigning king. So if you won the King's race the previous week, if you are able to win the King's race a second time, you will get 2 points, and your Court race will then not count. But you will have gotten the max points that you can for that week. We are only going to be doing this for 1 week, so we will see how the results play out. We're going to go ahead and begin by racing all of our drivers.
Toss did so well for me this week. Oh, I feel sad. But for some reason, I'm not sure that he will last until my turn. You both pass on Botas. What's the likelihood of that?
Don't think very good. One last thing to note, any person that is in yellow is a wild card, and these are drivers that average more than 21 points a race. Under normal circumstances, they cannot be picked up. If you fail to score a point in King's race or the Court's race, you will then instead get a credit. This last week, didn't score a point in either. I would end up with 2 credits this week. A single credit can allow you to turbo a driver. If you had 2 credits, you could then mega one of your drivers. 3 credits, you could take one of these 4 drivers that's in yellow and then add them to one of your teams. And then their points would be added on top of the other 2 drivers. Paola, you are going to be choosing first.
Leclerc, it's your favorite. He's your favorite driver. Leclerc.
Sadly, I don't think Leclerc is going to be my best bet since he scored so low this week. So I'm going to go for Sainz.
You'll see signs lit up. For Paola's next choice, she will be able to pick anyone from Stroll down. But this is snake draft. It is my turn to pick. Would it be crazy if I passed up on Botas?
Yes.
That would be. She says yes, but she didn't pick up Botas. So, I mean, I don't know. You're right. It would be crazy to not pick up Botas. Okay, Dad, you get pick 2.
I guess I'm going to go ahead and go with Cardo.
You could pick up Leclerc, since you seem to want him to get picked up so bad.
With the fact that Paul, he really wants him to succeed, I think I'll go ahead and pick him up.
Oh.
Maybe he'll succeed on my team.
I think the easy choice here is going to be Raikkonen.
I think I'm going to take a bet on Ocon. Even though he did bad this week, I think he'll do a lot better. I'm going to go with Gasly. He's consistent.
What? I'm going to go with Vettel.
I don't want to be so selfish. I'll let you have a chance at Latifi. I'll take Schumacher.
Bold.
Yeah, hopefully he'll have a good race. It's kind of a toss-up with him, and it's not even necessarily just because of his races. How many times has he started the race in the back?
So let me see. I got Stroll, Russell, Giovinazzi, Latifi.
Latifi.
No, I'm going to go with Giovinazzi because I can't have him in my fantasy team, but I can have him here.
So that is our lineup. From here, we'll take 2, put them in the Kings, 2 in the Court race. Normally, credits would be earned after the first race, but this is like a one-time deal, so we'll have some fun. Grant everyone the ability to turbo one of their drivers.
Let me make sure that I have the right people.
You're over here like to go ahead and turbo Hamilton.
Hope you guys don't recognize that, notice that,
Yeah, nothing suspicious going on here. Okay, just let me know when you guys are ready. Okay. And in 3, 2, 1, post.
Instant regret.
All of us are going for the King's race.
I'm going to call myself out and say I made a mistake. I should have gone for the Court race. I don't think any of my drivers are going to be particularly strong given the racetrack in Austria.
I feel comfortable challenging Bottas with Ricciardo.
Yeah, sure. If that's what it takes for you to sleep at night.
And if Leclerc does anywhere close to what he's possible doing, I should get the Court race.
If he doesn't get negative 2 points again.
Yeah.
I'm going to start hoping for a bad pit stop for Bottas.
Whoa, hey now.
Oh,
That's
He's
not
not
cool.
on my,
That's not cool, man.
I don't have him here, and I don't have him on my fantasy lineup. So
No skin off her back, right? Okay, Dad, since we're throwing out ill will.
I don't have any ill will. I just hope Leclerc pulls out the court race for me because I don't think I'm going to get the King's race.
So there it is. Those are our choices. And that's a wrap of another video. I'd like to thank all of you that stuck around. It's been a real pleasure making it, and hopefully you guys were entertained. I have been your host, Dom. Thank you, Dad, for joining us. Paola. And until next time, see you on the pit wall.